couple months ago, I took part in 666 by reading a bunch of religious horror. A bunch. Is 4 a bunch? I guess so. And while the religious aspect of it didn't exactly stick out as much as I wanted it to, what did is medieval horror. So, today we're exploring exclusively that. Dun dun! I'm very excited. This is a stand-in because I'm not actually getting a physical book. It's fine. So, first, I have Fast Mountain by S.J. Shank. At Costco, the old-timers say shadows walk and men go mad, but 60 years after the remote mountain fortress was first abandoned, it is attracting soldiers again. So there we go, soldiers are going mad mountain. The other one is Pilgrim by Luthi. Every time this comes up, the main thing that sticks out is people saying how absolutely well-researched it is. Inspired by a rich blend of Arabic, Christian, and pre-Islamic traditions. So there's a lot of combination of things happening here. So this is religious, but is also medieval, similarly to Between Two Fires, which they both kind of get brought up at the same time, often. So that's also why I'm very excited to read them both. Between Two Fires was kind of a very long wait, physically and for the ebook at my library, but they recently got a hold of an unlimited supply of the audiobook. Hopefully it's not too sacrilegious of me to just be doing the audiobook. And lastly, the first one I will be reading is Lapvona by Ottessa Moshfegh, who wrote My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I'm pretty sure this one is just like strictly medieval. In a village buffeted by natural disasters, a motherless shepherd boy finds himself part of a power struggle that puts community, or the community's faith, to a savage test. Little Merrick is abused. Merrick. Why do I know that name? Isn't that a Yu-Gi-Oh character? So I'm going to start this today. So Marek, I think is how the audiobook pronounces it. He's struggling to fit in, it sounds like. He has a real rough upbringing. Oh god, I don't know how much to spoil. Yeah, okay, so things happen at the end of the first season that separate him from being his father's son. He's now living somewhere else, and is essentially significantly more fish out of water than he kind of already was. It's just a glimpse into their world and their village and how messed up everything is. It's kind of a series of events that appear to be unfortunate. Am I enjoying it? I guess. I don't think it's something especially to be enjoyed. I'm being disgusted and uncomfortable, which I think is the point. Great. Okay. Lapvona. Unfortunately, I have no clue what else to say. It's following Marek in this medieval village over the course of a year and how his life changes and how the village and the villagers' lives change. Like, it's just one of those things you read to experience. And it's a fucked up story and with fucked up people. It's so very uncomfortable. This, I feel like, would be the kind of literary fiction someone would read if they're into extreme horror. I will say, the saving grace to me was the king, William. I love King William. He is the most interesting character in this whole thing because he is the most bizarre. He's the most outrageous. He is hedonistic to an extreme. He only lives in the moment. Things happen to him that he should absolutely be horrified by, but he can only think in terms of gluttony and entertainment, and everything that goes wrong for him is because it's a new plot line in the show of his life, or it's for the theater of it all. I don't know if I'll read anything else by Moshfegh. Not that I didn't like it. What did I rate this? Like a 3.5 or something? 3.5 feels good. I feel like you probably already know just by my description if this book is for you. We'll see what I pick up next, because I don't know at this very moment. I started the audiobook for Between Two Fires. A few chapters in, I like that the chapters are titled. That's fun. I feel like no one does this anymore. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not too far in, obviously. So the plot so far really is just an ex-soldier, a gay priest, and a child who is either a witch or a saint. They're all trucking along to Avignon and then to Paris. The priest has only kind of just joined at this point in the book. So it's largely been the soldier or knight. It's largely been the knight and the girl, but their dynamic is so fucking charming. It's a really fun time to read their conversations and just their interactions with each other. And fun as in, like, they're both still, like, he's awful to her. I had an old directing prof who would describe believable characters as likable, and that's what these feel. These characters are very likable and they're very believable. My brain is ticking back to the quote in the beginning of the book talking about, like, the fallen angels, talking about, like, revenge or getting themselves, like, back into heaven by messing with Earth. And I keep feeling like that's maybe a little literal, or at least one of those very, you know, shining spotlight clues as to the theming of the book. So I'll check in when I'm halfway. It's a chonker of a book. So this is pretty classic religious horror, in the fact that it's playing on who is actually the big bad and who is actually the big good, who is God. That's really fun. I'm really enjoying it. It's just taking me a while to get through, and I think it's because it's also been a while since I've had to read a book this big just as an audio and not like a tandem read. So I'm struggling a little bit with that and really wish I could have a physical version, but whatever. So far, if I was at like the end of the book, this first half, a very easy 4 stars. I can see it going way further into the deep end and going off the rails and pushing that to a 5 pretty easily. I can't imagine it's going to be less than a 4 by the end. But yeah, it's feeling very episodic. Like, things have happened, don't get me wrong, but I don't really have anything to update you story-wise because it's all just chunks of events happening for the most part and gradually learning these characters. It's, I am almost totally only saying this because it's in the media, because I haven't read the Odyssey, and I mean, I never read it. I only read the first few chapters and then failed my summer reading. It feels kind of like the Odyssey, just in the way of how episodic it is, and that there are things happening that all relate to one another, but it's really just a motley crew of people on a trek to eventually, ideally, go see the Pope. I also saw someone very recently describe this as jump scare horror, like as a book, and I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was very accurate in the sense that the horror is not always there. It's kind of rarely there, but when it is, it comes very suddenly. Otherwise, I think I do have a minor complaint, and it is a minor spoiler on like one of the characters, so you can skip the rest of the section if you want. But it's nothing plot, at least so far. It's not a plot spoiler, but it's the fact that, pause for skipping, the girl gets her period, and so she's like, you know, a woman now, and it feels as if very suddenly she's like getting the hots for people. And I don't know, I'm like, just because she gets her period doesn't mean she suddenly has a sex drive. It's just a weird switch of the light, like that this was never hinted at whatsoever before, of her having like any sexual preference, and now that she's got her period, she's like, well, this guy's kind of cute. And it's just weird. It's just a little weird. And I'm kind of inclined to say it's giving man rights women, you know? So there's that. But otherwise, having a good time, getting a little desperate to finish this off. So I'm probably gonna throw myself into a puzzle or an embroidery project or something and wrap it up, hopefully in the next couple of days. This is fantastic. This is great. I think I said that someone described this as jump scare horror, and I agree. I still fully agree on that. The way it builds the tension is fantastic, and it really begins to ramp up by the end. It gets a little, not repetitive, but like there are a couple horrors or a couple scares that happen where it's like, I feel like the character should know better, but sure, you know, it like, I'll accept it. To be fair, they happen multiple times as like thematic elements, I think, but as the story goes on, especially in the latter half, we do really get more concrete backstory to these characters, and I love them so much. It's fantastically well done, and I really liked it. I feel like this is what I wanted the ending of The Monk to be. Like, the way, I guess, it goes off the rails. The Monk definitely did that. From what I remember, I feel like it kind of came and went, whereas Two Fires really, I feel like, let you kind of live in that insanity a little more. Yeah, it was a great time. I'm so pleased. 5 stars. I can understand why this is a very widely loved book, but also widely suggested book, because it does have the spooks, but also the characters are so incredibly well written. I really need to read more from this author. I'm so very pleased and for some reason pleasantly surprised. I feel like this lived up to the hype, quite honestly. Yeah, I wish I had more to say, but I've said everything already. I will say, I wish I had a physical copy. Not that the audiobook was bad, it just referencing, I guess. There we go. There's Between Two Fires. While I read that, since when I did want something physical to read, I was picking up our next book, Mountain Fast, by S.J. Shank. So I'm not very far in, like 40 pages-ish. I'm not loving it. I have issues. For one, the storytelling feels a little clunky, and same with the sentence structure. And I'm kind of questioning myself if it's just because it's medieval, so it's written in like an older English. It's possible. It's just there's a lot of sentences that like kind of make sense, but if there was a comma or two, it would make more sense. If the sentence structure was different, it would make more sense than it does in me having to read it a couple times. There's also just a lot of like, this is such a minor stupid complaint, but like in a lot of dialogue there will be paragraph breaks and they don't need to be there, so I get confused as to who's talking. I don't know. This is an independent book, so not a lot of people have read it, and so the reviews make it seem really, really good, because there's only 4 people that have rated it, so it's like, yeah, of course it's a 4-star. I don't know if there are editorial issues or if it's a me problem, genuinely, because it's trying to read older than it is. So maybe it's just not doing that very successfully. Anyways, to that point, with the story, I hate the main character. His wife is dead, so he has to take care of his brother-in-law. And his brother-in-law is apparently much younger than them. Old enough that Andreas is like, I gotta get this boy a job, he's a hooligan, and I gotta stop babying him. And then he proceeds to spend the next 20-30 pages babying him a bit. It's told through Andrea's perspective, but he's like way too omniscient. He knows way too much about these other characters. And because of that, it makes him look like an asshole, because he's like kind of talking down to them, like mentally he's kind of talking down to them, because he's telling the reader that they're lying. There's no like body language or like tonal clues, like nothing is telling us that they're lying outside of Andreas being like, these kids are lying to the guy. And I'm like, how do you know that? They're all going on a journey to the mountain. Paul was joining these other guys. Andreas just so happens to get a letter, and he's like, oh, I'm going with them, and so he's kind of like, bye, and then starts walking in the same direction as them. So I guess I'll keep reading this. Hopes, expectations, low. The bar is a little low. I've decided to give up. The house was napping, and I was like, I'll read. That's perfect timing. Because now that I've finished Between Two Fires, I gotta get a crack on this. So I was like, halfway, 125 pages-ish. and then I'll decide. And then I was like, 100 pages, then I'll decide. And at page 70, I found myself skimming. So there we go. So sorry to this. Not for me, no thank you. To be fair, the main character got less annoying. My main issue was kind of the fact that it was just so dry. Very little, like, prose and flowery language and, like, just interesting descriptions. And when they were there, didn't really feel natural, or it just wasn't good, in my opinion. So I was just kind of getting bored. And nothing about it was pulling me in and making me want to read it. I was like, maybe this is a me problem. Like, maybe I'm just not being fair. You know, Two Fires and Lapvona, I immediately started reading with the audiobook. And this doesn't have an audiobook, so I was like, maybe that's the problem. I'm the idiot, right? And so I read the first chapter of Pilgrim and love it. I had no problem getting sucked into this. Okay, there's my stance. DNFing it. Into the free little library you go. I gotta take the tabs out, but that's fine. Yeah, that kind of sucks. I was also kind of reading other people talk about it, and they were saying that it really wasn't much horror. So I feel even better about letting it go, because it seems like kind of more of like a medieval family drama. If the writing isn't pulling me in, and the story isn't pulling me in, and the characters aren't pulling me in, why am I reading it? I'm not. We're reading Pilgrim by Luthi. And like I said, the first chapter is fantastic. It opens up with like this gorgeous passage about Jerusalem. It was like, wow, fucking that's what I was missing. So I'm almost 10 chapters in. I'm quite a ways. What the running theme apparently seems to be between these last two books, and to be fair, Mountain Fast, it was just not Lapvona, is that this is once again about a journey, like a physical, literal journey, about this group of men traveling with a religious artifact. They immediately get betrayed, find themselves in a skirmish of the sorts, and wake up in, they don't know where. Yeah, I really like Luthi's writing. I'm so happy I gave him another try. There was, oh fuck, I immediately forgot. The story's first 3 or 4 chapters was largely just like political talk. It was a lot of politics. What does the king want to do with the betrayals and the kingdom and all these people, and are we gonna listen to the king or not? And it was just a lot. It was a lot. Setting the scene, you can immediately see where or why so many people who review this are like very well researched. But once you get over that hump, it's great, and it's right in the beginning. So you just get it over with. I'm so excited to keep digging into this. So yesterday, I listened to the audiobook, and then today I ran a whole bunch of errands. So between the audiobook and reading the book, I am about halfway. Loving the shit out of it. This is everything I wanted it to be. I'm having a blast. I'm understanding why this and Two Fires are so often like said with the same breath. They're incredibly similar vibes, but very different stories. I mean, Fires is more people driven, it's more character driven. There's only the 3 main characters, and that's who you're following. Whereas this, you have your one main character and everyone branching around him, and even then he's like barely the main character. So this was published after the Bonefields, and the Bonefield is my favorite story in his Black Tongue, and this feels like a expansion on that. The back is extremely vague in what this is about. I'll leave it at that for now. I do want a minor spoiler section just because I do want to say more than what this says. But I'm having a blast. I can't believe, I mean, for one, this book is fucking huge. So I'm like, with all the reading I've been doing the last couple of days and listening to the audiobook, I can't believe I'm like just halfway. I think the book does a very good job of setting it up and kind of hinting at it before the characters seem to accept reality. They're obviously in hell. And the reason I'm having so much fun is because it's all of their hells, and hell is just a place that their religions have translated differently. And that's how one of the guys describes it as well, where he's like, you know, we all follow God. It's just a different name that we call him, and we all have our own separate rules. But at the end of the day, we're all still following the same thing. And that's just a really fun thematic thing that I'm a sucker for, because I agree with it. I really like the idea. Yeah, so far, they're all just working together and dealing with the horrors of the nonsense. Wow, the first half was like a sprint to get through. I was having a blast. I was really enjoying setting time aside to read it. The second half, I was more pushing my way through it, and I kept trying to be like, you know, this is just like a slow hump. And then it was actually more like there were exciting tiny humps, and most of it was just kind of not for me by the end of it. I think it's because Luthi has amazing atmosphere, and he really knows how to set a scene and put forward the ideas he wants. His weak point is character work, for sure. And come the halfway mark, I think I just kind of needed that to keep me more involved. Like, I was like, the world is set, the story is set, I know what's happening, I understand it's just kind of, you know, horrors after horrors and confusion and religion and all the bullshit. But I needed people. I wanted to love these characters more, I guess. There were really strong moments of, like, background and character work and stuff, and that was fun. But they were kind of just moments, and outside of those, like, flashbacks and memories and exposing the characters, outside of those moments, I didn't care about the character, and I really wanted to. And, like, when they were gone, I didn't miss them. Maybe it's just because the group was fairly large and the ensemble was always kind of changing, that I didn't really, I feel like, get a chance to fall in love with anyone. But even the characters that stayed there and came back and all the other stuff, outside of those moments where it was like, now it's time to care about Ditmar, now it's time to care about Raisin, like, I just didn't. I mean, it's kind of, this might be a bit of a stretch, but it's kind of like how a couple weeks ago I was saying that Eyes Are the Best Part didn't feel like weird lit. It's because the book itself didn't treat wanting to eat eyes as weird. It's just the concept alone is weird, and that's it. Nothing else about it was weird, and the book didn't treat it as such. And characters and writing, nothing about it outside of the single concept was weird. And it's like, anyone could come up with a concept that's weird, but to execute it in a way where, like, okay, the book is selling me that I should be uncomfortable. It's selling me on the fact that this is abnormal. And that's kind of how I feel about these characters, where, yeah, they're good moments, but the book itself, it just isn't making me fall in love with them. It isn't making me miss them. It isn't making me sad that I can't read these characters anymore. It's, those moments are good, and the scenes are good, but outside of that, the admiration isn't there. I hope that makes sense. I don't think that comparison makes sense at all, but I hope that makes sense. This is a 4. The first half is amazing. I think his next novel could be something I really like, which I believe is, like, set to come out next year or something. He's working on it. I want to see him get better at character work. If you read Between Two Fires and you wanted more action, you wanted more horror, you wanted less focus on the characters and focus on these people, you want a more focus on the world itself and the atmosphere, I would try Pilgrim by Mitchell Luthi. Also, side note for Between Two Fires, the more distance I have from it, the more I do want a physical copy to have. Ideally a hardcover, because, like, this one is a bit of a bummer that it's just always going to be kind of flipped up like that. This was a much better take, too, I think, on religious horror, despite the fact that Lapvona is, like, vaguely religious, and this vlog wasn't supposed to be religious. In the medieval aspect of it, I think it was a great success, not just in the star ratings, but also in the concept and collecting the books myself, rather than picking from a predestined list. I guess. So lessons learned there. Yeah, I guess that's it. Have a lovely day. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing. Bye-bye.